And this is the DRC meeting for Strathmore. I'm looking, I can't find the name.
7025 Strathmore.
7025 Strathmore. Your lead reviewer is Grace Brogdon, and the purpose of this meeting is for you to ask any questions based upon the comments you received last week. Grace will kind of highlight any of the major items we should discuss and then turn it over to you for your questions. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded. Go ahead, Grace.
Good morning, everyone. So this is for the preliminary plan, the site plan, and the forest conservation plan. I know that there were a lot of comments, and I think we all know what the juicy ones are. But first, I do want to touch on a couple of things before that. Ariel is not here today, but he did. Oh, he is the online? Okay.
Yeah,
Hi,
I'm here. Morning.
So in his comments, there is a noise analysis that is missing. And then there are several comments on the green cover exhibit. And I think I put a comment or two in there. It was very difficult to read, so I think it would be better if you used the roof plan. And then I gave a couple examples of previous projects that put in green cover exhibits that might be helpful to improve legibility and clean up. I think there's some issues with some of the trees that are being counted in the right of way that do not count towards green cover. So we can circle back on that if necessary. I know that you are working with DHCA to address some of the comments from their agency letter during the sketch plan. So thank you and good job. Keep us in the loop as that moves forward. When I was reviewing the comments this morning, I had put some in regards to the public benefit points, but I didn't see it in the summary. So if those aren't in e-plans,
I don't remember seeing them at the.
yeah, maybe we can circle back after. They're minor ones like making sure that there's sheet references and the information necessary for
Thank you.
DPS had some comments. We saw that the utilities were moved from the property itself into the right of way. Utilities like private utilities should be in the private property where possible. And if they're in the public right of way, then PEPCO will need to install and maintain those, and you will need to work with them to make sure that is possible. I think there's a general question about the storm drain at the southern property line. Is it going to be private or public? And whichever that is, there's certain requirements that go into that need to get addressed. Marie had some comments. She asked for a performance-based design for lack of 20 feet at a critical part of the building, but we'll put a pin in that because that's going to get circled back to with the DOT comments. And then the juicy stuff. Okay, so with DOT and transportation, the curb bump out at Strathmore and Woodmont, they want that to be formalized with the landscaping, reduce the curb radius and increase that lane width to 20 feet. So that will in effect address Marie's comment. I think this might require an extra meeting just to go through the design of what the landscaping strip should be, the sidewalk width, make sure that everybody's getting what they want and the design guidelines are being addressed. There was another comment about the crossing at Wellington Drive that will need to be addressed. Not sure on which side of the street it should be located, but I think that could also be handled in this follow-up meeting. And then Carlos put in a comment. I know that you're showing the bike lane improvements for the CIP project and the crossing along Woodmont Avenue. You need to reach out to Robert Gonzalez. He's the project manager for that project. It sounds like that timeline might be moving forward faster than this project. And so if that was something that you were going to use for your offsite mitigation for LATR or for public benefit points, we need to make sure that timeline actually works for you guys to be installing those things. And then of course, confirm the dedications for the streets. And then let's get to the alley. So a couple things to use the alley. This was brought up by DOT at the sketch plan phase that the applicant needs to put a letter in writing to the MCDOT director to make sure that that alley can be used and he needs to approve that. And then in DOT's letter, as you know, they're requesting the building to be set back 4.5 feet. You're at 4.1 feet right now. I appreciate that, but DOT still wants the full 4.5 feet to make sure that this building can function. And then with that, the loading design as proposed is not supported. It results in a couple issues with the way that the trucks are moving south along the alley, and it just doesn't make the turn on the bend. So I'm sure that we want to talk about that further. And then I think those were the main things.
Oh, Carlos, I'm the transportation reviewer for Montgomery planning. Another item that we align with DOT is our concerns with the service area. We would like all of the main entrances for delivery and automobile ingress to happen through the garage. We can't fully support the service area as it is. We ideally would like there to be just one area where the turning and the turning can happen. And that should effectively just be the garage. That's the only thing that was not included in the summary.
So I think that gives us enough talking points for today.
I don't understand that. I didn't understand what you're describing. I'm sorry.
So the service area over there for the turning movements, we can't fully support that. That should be within either that should be buffed out or be added back to the overall alley ingress. All of the main turning points should happen internally within the garage.
Underground.
We don't have a garage at the first floor.
The garage is all underground.
Yeah, and all of the loading should happen underground or
Unless it in the truck. That's next to impossible. I'm sorry. I mean, the loading dock height required is 14 feet.
right.
And our loading lay-by is within the confines of the building, including the 4.5-foot setback. We're not aiming to turn trucks 90 degrees to back up into a loading dock.
We're not requesting it to.
But in fact, it's a simpler movement coming from either direction. We provided much larger than a 35-foot lay-by. It's frankly, for a truck to make a 90-degree backup, whatever floor it is, it would take them 2-3 point turns to do that. Whereas this one, either direction you come from, south or north, okay, you can pull in, just straighten out. It's much easier. We don't intend to put trash out there. We have a loading dock inside the building immediately adjacent to the loading area. So,
This is Rebecca with DOT. Did you guys provide truck turning templates on how the truck's going to get in and what size truck you're using?
I
Any
believe we
kind
did.
of-
I believe we did, yes.
Yeah, Ian, the problem, this is Deepak with DoD. I looked at the truck turning templates, and there are issues with truck turning templates. That's one of the reasons why I did not approve that service alley as well. Because if you're going down south, as well as they are jumping the curb and they're extending into the private property and things like that. So the only way the truck is going to come in is either from Woodmont Avenue down, come and park here and get out south of the alley, or they have to come in from the south and then park it here and then go out on Woodmont Avenue. That's the only movement it's going to work. But you may have to go back and look at the truck turning templates to make sure it works. Right now, what you provided does not work.
Okay.
There are conflicts in there. You may want to go back and revisit that.
We
yeah,
will
we'll
revisit.
prove it to you that it works.
Can we also agree on the size of the truck?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the loading dock requirement, I believe, is 12 by 35. So, which means basically no trucks bigger than 30 feet, roughly. Okay. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
Yeah,
keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
I'm sorry. We're going to have 3 different trucks come in. The most frequent will be regularly the trash truck. Okay. We will put the trash truck can grab the dumpster within our loading area and do its business. It's a 2-story space. It's approximately 20 feet tall. Either a front loader or the rear loader, either one of them can handle it. The other movement we will have is move-ins and move-outs, which will be limited by the ownership. In fact, they specify certain days you have to make an appointment. And those trucks are not going to be any bigger than 30-35 feet. The space we provided is much larger than that. Okay. And the third one is maintenance trucks, which can be easily controlled, obviously. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so the Deepak, they weren't making, did you guys show the truck turning templates down where, because it's a 90-degree bend? So we know that certain trucks can make it down there. Did you show that your trucks and your trash truck can make it? Because for anybody that's new for this alley, we approved 7,000 Wisconsin. We haven't heard any complaints from residents. They do actually have a 90-degree bend, but their lot is a lot deeper than yours. So I understand why you need to use it the way you are. So I think if you can just show that it works on the corner, on the bending of it, we can take a look at it and discuss further.
Thank you, Rebecca. This is Ian. Rebecca, we definitely looked at the approval for 7,000 and they did have their trucks coming from Bradley
Right.
up through that 90 and into their dock, which like you said, is perpendicular to the alley and their
Yeah.
lot is. And so we ran ours south and that way we really cover both directions because we can get out down to Bradley and obviously if somebody came from Bradley, we can get out to the north because they showed that their movements worked northbound to Woodmont.
Right. And
The
so
other
one of
thing,
the,
yeah, sorry.
go ahead, Deepak.
Go ahead. The other
go
thing
ahead.
I just wanted to make sure that the sight distance. So when you do the sight distance, I want to make sure that a truck is parked there and put the line of sight. Um, that's what I want to see.
Okay, I see Jason nodding his head, so.
Yeah,
we'll take-
sounds good.
Yeah, the other thing I was gonna just to, I'm sorry, I'll keep going back to revisiting the same issue of the loading. In order for us to be able to use what you're showing on the plan as a viable option for loading is to be able to see that a truck, in this case you mentioned SU-30. I would assume that's the maximum size truck that you're planning to accommodate for this project.
Sorry, repeat that last part.
An SU-30.
Yes,
It's essentially a 30-foot truck that probably covers the regular drops off like UPS, FedEx, the trash truck. I assume you're not gonna use any larger truck than that. So we should see that a truck can safely come in to the alley and exit the alley. I mean, you probably know that better than me, but this alley is probably, right now there are a lot of dumpsters, there are utility poles, there are a lot of obstructions that make it very difficult. So if we can see that we can provide truck turning, accommodating all the existing obstructions in the alley, coming in, doing their service and exiting without getting into private property, then we have a level of comfort to people. Until we see that, it would be very difficult for us.
No problem. We'll show you.
There should be no dumpsters in the alley. They're not allowed. So whether they're there or not, it doesn't matter. We used to have them and we had to move them. So that means other people should move them too, and that should not be a factor in this.
That is something that we have to look into a little bit further.
But you
because
purposely, went to us and said, we used to have dumpsters in the alley. We totally moved them out. So I really do not agree that that should be a factor.
I understand you moved it out, but that's something that we have to work out here. If there is a prohibition on putting a dumpster,
There is.
there's gotta be some sort of regulation that we could look into and.
There is.
It's something that probably we could visit in the next meeting.
I will say, we'll take the same approach that we took with 7,000 Wisconsin and try to get those dumpsters out of there. But.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. So we'll definitely take a look at the truck movements and make sure that they're nice and clean and not encroaching on anything.
Yeah. Another thing is the sidewalk along that alley. I think in front of the sidewalk, I would really like to have that 4.5 feet as per 7,000 Wisconsin. Similar to that.
Yeah, it should, you show it as a sidewalk instead of the alley. We want it paved like we did with the other 7,000 Wisconsin, and it was actually the alley.
It was
It
four
was
and
the
a
same
half
level.
feet. It was 4.5 feet setback on 7,000
Yeah.
Wisconsin. That was a condition of approval for 7,000 Wisconsin as well. But that's going to remain in place. So it's going to be the same.
Okay.
So that 4.5 is going to be, we have to put a different kind of pavers on that 4.5 feet. I'm trying to understand.
We want to asphalt and to be at the same level as the alley.
It is. Yeah. I mean, there is no curb there.
Oh, it appeared like it was it was a sidewalk. It was a sidewalk, so it was
No,
raised
no.
above the alley.
No.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So the
Right,
section
fine.
showed it being a sidewalk. The rendering shows it as basically a green space. So there's a little bit of confusion.
Yeah, we'll definitely
But we'll
clarify all that.
Right.
Thank you.
And the alley along your frontage need to be reconstructed. Aware of that, right? Because you're using that as a primary access.
Uh, thank
Only
you.
to install utilities. But
I just
not
wanted to
build a
reiterate
whole
that. So.
alley. LOD does not show us
Going all the way across the
going
alley.
all the way
yeah.
across and doing the major improvements through that alley. It only
We-
shows
That alley, the condition for 7,000 Wisconsin was they reconstructed it, and we are asking you to do the same. We don't know that that can withstand the loading area, the loading and the truck movements that you're building on general.
That is sitting on concrete. It's not sitting on alley. So we will make sure it supports any kind of load that we bring in.
Yeah, we can, we're gonna tear up most of it with the utilities, so we can work on that.
Yeah.
If there's some other topics, I think we should probably hit before we.
So the next one I'd like to try and cover is that bump out that you're at the radii at the Woodmont / Strathmore and the widening to 20. I understand Marie's desire to have access through there for a fire. We do need a drop-off area, and we certainly don't want to have it on Woodmont. So that's why we purposely striped it to have it not be a parked area, to have it be as a quick drop-off for deliveries or things of that nature. And I know you guys all, I believe, share the same vision to not have a lane blocked or to have, a super busy road like Woodmont. And we have no real street entry off of the alley. It's really just for the residents. So that corner where we placed it really made the most sense to us. And so I think we're going to definitely need to have a discussion about that, a follow-up, like you were saying.
So the drop off is not going to work. It's not going to help. I mean, it is not going to fly with traffic as well. I can tell you that, Ian. So you have to do the drop off right where the parking is, somewhere in there. That location cannot be used for drop off. It is not. You're not going to get a permit. It's not going to pass traffic. So that is one of the reasons why we wanted to have a curb bump out.
So
So
if go ahead.
But we're referring to it as a drop off, but it's really nothing other than a striped area.
yeah, the striping is not going to work. It is not.
Sure.
It is not going to pass traffic.
Please allow me to finish and then I will.
It has been a comment in the sketch plan. I know why you're doing that. You're doing that stripe off to do the drop off, and it is not going to fly. You can show it, but I can tell you right now, you're going to run into permit issues, and I will have a condition in my DOT letter to bump that out. So you can keep showing it, but it is not going to pass traffic.
Okay, this is Josh online with VICA. Isn't there a specific guideline that shows recommendations for temporary vehicle storage at the end of a block?
The parking needs to be
DoorDash,
35
Uber
feet
Eats
per
and
the
everything?
code. If it as long as it's 35 feet away from that, I'm okay with it.
Away from
So
what?
it should be bumped out, and it has to be 35 feet away from the intersection. So it is going to be a bump out. It is going to be like a parking bay, and it is going to be 35 feet away from that intersection. And it's a code requirement. It's not going to pass traffic.
Where does
So-
it?
Yeah, where does that 35-foot start, Deepak?
I have to check with traffic on that, how they measure it, but it's in the traffic code 3117. I believe it is. That's a code requirement. So
Yeah,
The
usually the
intersection is
tangent to
really-
the intersection.
And yeah, as I said, you can come up with a concept how you're going to bump it out. I can run it with traffic and get their blessings before we move forward. But I need to see something concrete in there. And no, the payment marking is not going to work.
I think we need to know where the intersection starts so that we
I
can.
can, yeah, I can check what the traffic and give you a specific answer on that.
But essentially, you're saying similar to the red line that you drew on your DOT letter, that would be curb. That then we could have potentially a loading space or drop off space rather.
Not a drop off. It's probably I don't know if we can call it as drop off. It's probably going to be a parking space kind of stuff. I mean,
It'll say no parking
yeah,
or something like that, and
yeah.
so that you can use it. Anybody can use it for drop off. It's not particular
Okay.
to any specific. So like the people across the street can use it as well. The problem I found, at least with the couple projects that we've had, is when we do these kind of spaces, people just start parking in there the whole time. And there's nobody to go and kick them out. And you can't kick them out because they don't, anybody can use it. And so that's been the problem that we've seen.
Understood. If we can get the design criteria where the intersection is.
Yes, we can do that for you.
So I was gonna add that that intersection of Strathmore and Woodmont is going to change because of the excessive radius that we currently have. That's gonna cause some safety issues. So we could, as Deepak said, we could incorporate that design along with with the changes that we propose for the intersection.
On a related topic too, when it comes to accessibility, the designed ADA parking is not properly dimensioned, and to to the point of the changing design of Strathmore and Woodmont, we have to ensure that all of the curb ramps are PROAG and ADA compliant. I included the sections for design and also the specific language in our Montgomery County accessibility guidelines. So if there is a whole like ground up redesign of that whole pedestrianized area, that you follow through on it. But in terms of making sure that there is a proper setback for the existing parking, please to mention the ADA access accurately to PROAG and include those additional pedestrianized upgrades that are consistent with PROAG.
Okay, I'm pretty sure we followed that, but we'll include a detailed blow up of that area for you to see the detail better. In that same area where you're showing on the screen, which is great, the dashed portion is CAD that we got from DOT for that whole Woodmont improvement that you were talking about, Grace. And I know there's been some discussion with the comments about making that lane 20 feet wide for Marie's access. I guess is the island then in Woodmont mountable for her to cross over if she's coming from 355?
I believe it is.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It's mountable at the alley.
Okay. I'm missing anything.
There's also a comment to tighten that radius, right? That 55 foot, those two labels to tighten that radius as well. So I think that's part of that meeting we talked about at the beginning. We need to set up.
Yeah, have a follow-up meeting to sort of hash it all out.
Yeah. Because obviously we know those dumpsters, the inlet stuff we tried to avoid. Potentially are going to be issues.
You're welcome. So there's a comment on the double trees along Woodmont landscape.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
believe-
The
Go ahead,
yeah, that's
Elliot.
correct.
requirement within Bethesda streetscape is that it needs to be a 10-foot sidewalk
On Woodmont.
on Woodmont.
Both in both actually, the Strathmore and Woodmont, both are considered green corridors. Therefore, you need to provide the maximum width for sidewalk and two rotary trees. So it seems like you're trying to address that on Stratmore, but we don't see that on Woodmont. So please make sure that you add that. In the case that you don't, that you're not available to address that on Woodmont, we might consider if you provide high volume for the trees, so you could use that the best or better, description that we have in the design guidelines. The other thing that I do have regarding variance is you're removing a variance tree, and it seems like you won't be able to mitigate on site. Therefore, you could either put those trees in the courtyard green space. You might be able to feed those. You might need to use, larger caliper trees, or we kind of provide a map that you might be able to use that instead. Just let us know what you'd like to do.
Thank you for that email that you detailed that for us, Ariel. That was great.
And the other thing is, go ahead.
We will definitely need to have a conversation about that. The trees on Woodmont actually were pulled back in response to DAP comments. So we need to make sure that the response is sort of coordinated with all of these pieces.
Yeah, so you have to provide some justification why you're not meeting that master plan recommendation, and how you're going to mitigate for. And the other thing, there's a discrepancy between the 35%. I think so some sheets you say 33%, and in your statement you say something like 35. We need to see a consistency, what is the real error that you're providing. I think, and the other point that I want to make sure that you have, it's we would like to see native species that you use for the trees that you're providing. Those are the main comments that I do have for you.
That 35% and 33%, that's the difference between our green area versus our vegetated roof for public benefits. They're two different calculations. They just happen to be close. So we provide them both.
Okay. Just make sure that you put, like a clear separation between both of them, so we don't get confused.
Yep. We'll have a cleaner exhibit to show.
And the other things, you need to revise your variance, because sometimes you talk about 3 trees and sometimes you talk about 2 trees. It seems like you're impacting 3 trees. Therefore, we need to have a clear description. What is the proposed work and how you're going to mitigate for that?
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jason, I don't know if you want to bring up utilities, or John, the vaults.
Hi, this is John Boyle, Richard Associates. I think the proposed vaults out in the public right of way is something that we will coordinate with PEPCO, similar with 7000 Wisconsin Avenue, where you have the transformer vaults and the other equipment out in public space maintained by PEPCO.
They need to be permitted by PEPCO too, John.
Yes, that is correct. PEPCO will permit for all work in public space.
All right, anything else?
I don't think so.
I have one more thing, because Josh actually reminded me what my public benefit comment was.
Okay.
For the vegetated roof, the public benefits, if that area is being used for stormwater management, it's separate?
They are
Okay.
separately made sure.
Thank you. We'll need an exhibit seeing that, though.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah, that was it. So we can talk schedule if you want.
Yeah.
But first, for this follow-up meeting, it sounds like we need DPS and DOT. I don't know if Marie technically, I don't know if she wants to be part of it. I'll check with her. I think as long as she's getting the 20 feet, she should be fine. To talk about the bump out and the whole design really at the corner of Woodmont and Strathmore. And I'll give you some options. I think we have a dedicated time set up for next Tuesday, so we can see if that works for your schedule.
Okay.
Okay, so but for schedule, based on your acceptance date, you have a September 11th planning board date. So working back from that, your first resubmittal would be June 18th. With your last submittal being July 8th. and agency letters due July 28th.
Thank you. Thanks very much, guys.
Thanks.